You're watching TCM's tribute to the late Robert Redford. I'm Alicia Malone, and one of Redford's greatest on-screen partnerships was with Paul Newman. The movie stars only made 2 films together, but their chemistry, combined with great direction and screenwriting, ensured that they were unforgettable. Their first movie was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid from 1969, directed by George Roy Hill, which became the most successful film of that year. A few years later, they teamed up again, and we're about to see that movie from 1973. It's The Sting. Set in Chicago in 1936, Robert Redford plays a young con man named Johnny Hooker who decides to take revenge on a mob boss, Doyle Lonigan, played by Robert Shaw, after his partner is murdered. Hooker teams up with a veteran con artist, Henry Gondorff, played by Paul Newman, and together they come up with an elaborate con designed to steal Doyle's money. This idea came from writer David S. Ward, who was doing research on pickpocketers and became interested in con men. He realized he hadn't seen a movie that showed how con men were, quote, in some ways almost moral, because they didn't use violence, they didn't even steal, they used the mark's own greed against him. Ward shopped his script around and signed a deal with producers Tony Bill and Julia and Michael Phillips with the understanding that he would direct. The producers then approached Robert Redford, who loved the script but didn't want Ward to make his directorial debut. It seemed fun, Redford later explained. It seemed different and kind of quirky, but because of its structure, I thought it would take a real master director to pull it off, and I didn't want to insult or not support a newcomer. Meanwhile, George Roy Hill had read and loved the script and wanted to infuse more comedy into it, also paying homage to 1930s Hollywood gangster films. From 1973, here is The Sting. It's very satisfying the way the con all comes together in The Sting. Now, given that this movie reteamed Robert Redford, Paul Newman, and director George Roy Hill, who had worked together to great success on Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, you could be forgiven for thinking that was the plan all along. But actually, Redford signed on first, then Hill, and it was only when Hill asked to rent a house from Newman, and Newman asked what he was working on, that the wheels started to turn to involve him. Originally, the part of Henry Gondorff was much smaller and written as much older, so when Newman read the script, he thought he wasn't right for it. But Hill encouraged him to take it, and the part was tweaked to suit Newman. In the end, The Sting was a big success, nominated for 10 Academy Awards, including Best Actor for Robert Redford. And listen to the other nominees in this category. Marlon Brando for Last Tango in Paris, Jack Nicholson for The Last Detail, Al Pacino for Serpico, and Jack Lemmon, who won for Save the Tiger. The Sting took home 7 Oscars, including Best Picture, and while this was to be Redford's only Oscar nomination as Best Actor, he won Best Director for Ordinary People from 1980, was nominated for Best Director and Best Picture for Quiz Show from 1994, and was given an honorary Oscar in 2002 for his career and for the creation of the Sundance Institute. Speaking of Sundance and Paul Newman, TCM's Robert Redford tribute will continue after this break with the first film they made together, a buddy western from 1969, directed by George Roy Hill.
Next on TCM, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, then The Way We Were, and later, A River Runs Through It. TCM remembers Robert Redford tonight.